Welcome to this Arnall-Culliford knitwear tutorial. Today's video is all about using wires to block your lace knitting. Blocking is the process of soaking your project and then stretching it out to dry, and for lace knitting in particular is completely transformative. This is part of our Something New to Learn About Lace series, and you can find out more about the book and about the beautiful projects within the book over on our website acknitwear.co.uk. I'm going to show you how to use these super flexible blocking wires to stretch out your lace to get the most out of your pattern. This is a mini sample that I've knitted of my Bithynica Shawl design, and you'll see that I haven't yet woven in my ends. I like to leave that and do it after I've blocked the shawl, because sometimes the process of stretching the fabric out can make those ends pop through to the right side, so I find it easiest to do that at the end. My shawl's been soaked in hand-warm water for a good 20 minutes to allow the fibres to really absorb the water and relax out. And there was a little bit of wool wash in there as well, just to help the water to penetrate. And then I've squeezed it out. I've not wrung it, but I've just squeezed it out, so it's damp now, but not soaking wet. As for extra equipment, you can see that I'm using these Knit Pro lace blocking mats, which are really handy for pinning out lots of different shapes and sizes of shawls. And I've got T-pins that come with the blocking wires, which I'll be using to keep the wires in place. In order to make sure that everything is really as neat and even as it can be, I'm also going to use a ruler and a set square to check that my triangle is perfectly symmetrical and lined up. So the first job is going to be to take one of the blocking wires and thread it along the top edge of the shawl. You'll see along this top straight edge we've got a row of yarn over holes which we will thread the wires through. If you don't have yarn over holes at the top edge of your shawl, you can also thread it along the garter stitch ridges on the edge, or whatever your edge stitch is. On the edging, lace edging of the shawl, the yarn over holes don't continue, so I'm just going to choose a point roughly level with the spine along the top of the shawl, and I'm going to start by weaving the wires up and down so that they can travel along the edge. So you'll see that's roughly even with the holes here. Working along the line, spreading out the shawl as I go, just going up and down. And when I come to the other end again, I'm just going to weave up and down through the fabric in a line that's roughly level with that line along the top of the shawl. If your shawl is particularly wide, you might need more than one wire, in which case you can just overlap them at the join point. Next up, I'm going to weave the wires up and down the central spine. This is quite a common shape for triangular lace shawls, so you'll see lots of designs which have this centre spine of yarn overs that you can thread your wires through. You probably don't need to go up both sides. One would be enough, but just for completeness, it's just going to help open everything out if we go up both. There we go. And next up, we're going to thread the wire through the points of the edging, starting with the centre point. When you're going through the points of the edging, make sure you go through the holes in the same way each time. So I'm always going here from top to bottom rather than then going bottom to top through a hole. There's not really a right or wrong way as long as you do it consistently. And the last one, I'll go up the other side. Having threaded wires along all of the main points of our shawl, we're now going to pin the wires in place to ensure that the shawl is stretched as much as we can. So first of all, we're going to pin the middle of the top back neck, and we're then going to use a ruler to ensure that we stretch both sides evenly. We're taking the point where the wire passed through the fabric at the far end, stretching that out as far as we can, measuring it, and then we do the same on the other side so that it's pinned evenly. We then pin into that last point and take it to the same dimensions, and then to keep the edge straight you might put an extra pin in the middle of each half of the shawl. Now that we've pinned the top edge out straight, we're going to use the sketch square just to check that the bottom, that the centre spine is perpendicular as well, and that's absolutely fine. So now we're going to pin the middle down so that the bottom is fully stretched as well. And again, if you've got a specific measurement that you're working to, you can check that with the ruler. And then all that remains is to pin out the edges to stretch out the sides. You might want to keep them straight, or you might want to pull them out further. And you just put the T-pin in behind the wire so that it's fully opened up as much as you want it to be. It's much easier to adjust the wires than it is to go along and pin each point out separately. You can adjust how they're sitting on the wire, moving them along as you go. You can measure them to make sure that they're evenly spaced. A little bit of time spent evening everything out is really worth it at this point, because once it's dry it will hold that shape really, really nicely. And then we do the same on the other side. Usually start by dividing the side in half and then working in between the sections. And again, you can move the points along if you wish to. Generally make sure everything's sitting as you'd like it to, and making little adjustments as you go. Let me take that one out a little bit further. Then you can work along and check that any straight edges that should be straight are lying as you want them to. When you pull in this direction, you might find you need a couple of extra pins on the top edge to keep that from wobbling around too much. And when you're happy with it, all you need to do is leave your shawl to dry completely. And then when it's dry, you can unpin it and it will hold this nice opened out shape where all of the lace has been fully revealed and allowed to shine and show off its best. Now I'm going to show you how to block a shawl with a curved edge. This is a mini version of Martina Behm's Nissolia Shawl from Something New to Learn About Lace, and it's got a straight edge along the top here where the centre striped portion has been worked, and then the leaf lace edging has been knitted on, and it has quite a nice curved edge along the bottom here. This mini shawl sample has been soaked in lukewarm water with a little bit of wool wash for about 20 minutes so that it's fully absorbed all the water. And then I've squeezed it out carefully so that it's as dry as I can get it without completely drying it. The first job is to take one of our flexible blocking wires and we're going to thread it along the top edge of the shawl. Unlike with the green triangle that we were blocking earlier, I haven't got a nice handy row of yarn over holes to work with. So this time I'm just going up and down along the edge, trying to choose a consistent spot each time. So I'm coming up through the grey threads there and then going back down through the blue threads, up through the grey and down through the blue. Doesn't matter too much. You want to keep the points where you're threading fairly close together so that you're not worried about making a kind of curvy scalloped edge. But as ever in your knitting, the most important thing is to be consistent about how you're doing it. And that will give you the neatest possible finish. So our top edge is nice and straight. And now we're going to thread a flexible wire along each of these points on the curved edge. Along this edge there is a yarn over hole that you can thread the wire through, which makes it considerably easier. And now we're going to pin out the ends of our straight edge, stretching as much as we can along there. And we're going to put a few extra pins in just to help keep that edge taut as we pull down on the edging. And now, to get this lace edging to really shine, we're going to need to stretch it out as much as we can. And you'll see already how much that transforms the lace pattern, just to open it up a bit more and smooth the leaf patterns out. We can make sure that we're getting a nice sweeping curve as we go along there. I'm going to pin the far corner. Adding an extra pin or two just to keep everything nice and smooth. And you can adjust. You can see here when I've pulled down, it's taken the top line away from straight a little bit, so we can just pull that back up by adding an extra pin in. And do the same at this end as well. Blocking is basically a process of little adjustments until you're really happy with how you've finished and you've got everything stretched out and smooth. It's really worth taking a bit of time just to move things around with your fingers and get everything lying just as you'd like it, because once it's dry, that's the shape that it's going to hold and it will look really beautiful. Thank you for watching our video all about blocking your lace knitting with wires. I hope that you feel really confident now in how to get the most out of your lace projects. If you'd like to find out more about something new to learn about lace or our new yarn, Something to Knit with 4-ply, do go and visit our website acknitwear.co.uk. Thanks for watching.